Hi everyone, I'm Meredith and welcome to my channel. If you're new here, I'm so excited that you found me, and if you're returning, I'm so grateful you've decided to come back and watch more. I love all things luxury. I love luxury shoes, I love luxury handbags, I love luxury lifestyle and vlogging, and if they're things that appeal to you, I hope you'll do me a massive favor and hit that subscribe button down below. Today I'm going to be doing a video wrap up of my wedding. So I know a lot of you are very interested to see how my wedding went. I talked about it ad nauseum for months because I was so excited by it. And I know a lot of you want to know what bags I carried on the day, or what bag or bags, or how it all happened. So I thought I would do a wrap up video. I now have some of my professional photos back, and I will talk my way through this video and then throw up photos in the background, or as I voice over essentially. That's kind of how I envision this going. We'll see how it goes. So I thought I'd just give you a little story time and tell you about my day and how it all went, and then put photos up as I go. A disclosure, my husband does not want to be pictured, so if he is in photos you won't be able to see his face, and it obviously limits the amount of photos that I will put up because, strangely enough, he's in a lot of photos from our wedding day. I will also not use photos of my children. They are in far less photos because they weren't there for the whole day, but there will be no children pictured in any of my photos either. I'm very protective of their digital privacy, and I won't ever show you photos of my children ever on my YouTube channel. So let's talk about my wedding day and how it went. So the lead up to our wedding day was not ideal. I had a 4-year-old with a gastro bug vomiting 4 days prior to our wedding, and she was vomiting all night, the 2-3 nights before the wedding, and I was up with her all night because of that. But I'm a mum, and that's what happens to happen. Like, nobody cares that I'm getting married when they're throwing up. So that wasn't ideal. The day before our wedding, our landscaper had been on site all day making our gardens look beautiful because we got married here on our property. And I knew I was having a lot of photos in the garden, so we had spent a lot of time and money making our gardens look absolutely phenomenal, and they did when he left the day before. And then the night before my wedding, Sydney experienced an absolute torrential storm, the likes of which I have never seen as long as I can certainly remember. There was, I think, a month's worth of rain came down in an hour, so it was a ridiculous amount of water. I had a waterfall in my dining room and my kitchen. It was all coming in through my roof and just cascading into my house. Every towel in my house was wet and used because I had so much water in the house, and my gardens just took an absolute battering. So I'd spent thousands of dollars on new mulch to go in, so it all looked fresh, and I was just watching it run down my property in a river out of the gardens. So that was kind of devastating, but there was nothing we could do. It was what it was. My father was here because he'd come up the day before, so he would be present in the morning because it's a bit of a drive for him. So he was here and he was just helping, and yeah, we did what we had to do. So we were cleaning up water until well into the night. I hadn't finished my speech because I would plan to do that the night before, and I was busy mopping up water and trying to get towels through the washing machine then, and dealing with a vomiting child. It was a lot of fun. So we finally got to bed and we got up the next morning. I got around in my Versace robe all morning, and I'll throw a picture up for you. And it was just clean up, really. So we all had to be up fairly early. The first people arrived at my house at 6 a.m. and that included my hairdresser and my wedding organizer, and my mother and my stepfather all showed up at the same time because there were things that had to happen. My stepfather took over handling my children at that point and keeping them busy, and I was still putting towels through the washing machine and the dryer because that's what had to happen. And we started prep. So we started with hair, and then my makeup artist arrived. While that was all happening, my husband was ringing our landscaper going, you got to get out of bed and come back, we need help. And the absolute legend he is, he got out of bed and was at our house half hour later, and he worked so hard in what was blinding heat and humidity because we'd had so much rain the night before, and then it was so hot the next day. Like the day of my wedding was really quite hot, and he just worked for 2.5 hours. That's how long he had from the time he arrived at my house to the ceremony taking place, and he worked his guts out for us. He ran around, sorted out all the gardens, got it all back under control, and made it look beautiful, and I am eternally grateful to him for that. He was off on holidays that day. He put back going on holidays and just came and helped us, and I cannot express my gratitude enough to him ever for coming and doing that for us at the last minute, because the gardens were just a mess. So yeah, we went into hair and makeup and getting everything ready. I had to get my children ready. My husband's parents were down from Queensland, so then they arrived, and there was just a lot going on. So I'll throw photos up of what I've got of us getting ready, which isn't a huge amount. My makeup artist was phenomenal on the day, and I can't thank her enough. So I'll shout out to the people that I used on the day, which I highly recommend, and I'll link them down below. So as I go, I'll talk about them. So Christina Cleary makeup here in Sydney. She's phenomenal. She understands color, and I wanted a lot of pigment, and she was all on board with that. So thank you to her, and I will link her down below. Also, Form Over Function Events. Alicia from Form Over Functions Events dealt with everything for me. This is what I want. She made it happen. She bought breakfast on the morning for everybody, made coffee for everyone, made sure that we ate and had everything we needed, and she coordinated everything and made it look aesthetically beautiful. I cannot recommend her services enough. She was just an amazing support, and whatever thought I had in my head, she made that come to life on the day. So I will link all my vendors down below. Also, Damien Ford Photography, he did a phenomenal job. I had fired my wedding photographer a month earlier. I was not getting on with them. I knew it was going to be a bad day. I really did hate them. So I had fired them, and Damien had come in at the 11th hour and was just amazing. Just the most beautiful photos I have ever seen. They were exactly what we wanted, and he was just a nice guy to spend the day with. And that's all you want. You want someone who you can laugh with, who's just easygoing and nice. And he wasn't in my face about stand here, take that photo, right, now we're going to take another photo, 1 more, 3 more. Like, I didn't want that for my day, and he was just there to document our day in a really easy way. He made suggestions. He was open to whatever we wanted to do, and I honestly can't recommend him enough either. So all these people will be linked down below. We got me into my dress, and I will show you my ceremony dress. So my ceremony dress was Karen Willis Holmes, and it was actually a couple of pieces. So I had a dress itself, which was quite architectural in its design, and somebody actually said to me on Instagram in the photos, oh, there's a real nod to Louis Vuitton in it, and it hadn't even occurred to me, but the weaving in the dress actually looks very much like a demi-air pattern. So I hadn't ever picked that up. It hadn't been drawn to my attention. It hadn't been something I'd looked at and gone, oh, that's very Louis Vuitton. But now it's one of those things that once you see it, you can't unsee it. So yeah, I'm not surprised I was drawn to something like that, maybe subconsciously, but it's an incredible dress, and I love it. And then I bought a cape to go with it, and that gave me a bit of a train and a real flowy, romantic feel to it. And I loved my dress. I love my cape. They're being cleaned at the moment. I will pack my cape up to keep for my daughter should she want to use it down the track. My dress I will probably sell. I'm 5'4", and it was cut for somebody who's 5'4" wearing flats. I severely doubt my daughter will ever be 5'4". She has a father who is 6'6", and my guess is both my children will be taller than me by the time they hit high school. So there is absolutely no point in keeping my dress. I will probably sell that, but I will keep my cape because I love it. And I wore Manolo Blahnik ballet flats in blue for the ceremony. I knew I was going to be standing in a garden, and I most certainly did not want to be sinking in heels, so I wore flats, which worked for me. I loved it all. I loved my hair, I loved my makeup, I loved my dress, and I was just thrilled with the aesthetic that it created on the day. We got married in our garden, like I said, and form over function, Alicia had organised a flower wall for us to get married in front of, and my colour scheme was sunset. So I said I wanted flowers, and everything that we did needed to be in the colour palette of a sunset. So we did pinks and reds and a little bit of yellow and a tiny bit of orange, and that was because at my reception, which we'll come to later, there was some orange involved, so we had to include a little bit of orange. We all know I hate orange, but we did it for that reason. There were some whites and creams in there as well, but it was predominantly really bright roses in reds and fuchsia pinks, and it was just stunning, and I loved it. And it was this whole diamond cut, like laser cut wood in white, and it was just perfect for what we wanted it to be. And she had asked us what size it needed to be based on how tall my husband is. So it wasn't just oh yeah, we're going to do a flower wall. That's the attention to detail she had. All right, we need a flower wall, but it needs to be tall enough so that when my husband stands in front of it, he isn't standing with the flower wall at his shoulders, that it goes beyond his head. And those kinds of things are things that when you've never been married before, you don't really think about. So having someone who has done it a few times who thinks about that was really important for me, because I would never have thought of that. So we got married at 10:30 in the morning. We chose that because if it was going to be hot, and as it turned out, it was incredibly steamy that day, we didn't want to be standing outside, and we also wanted some time during the day to do other things and do a change. So we got married early in the morning. It was just our immediate family. So it was our 2 children, my 3 parents, my husband's parents, and his sister, and that was it. They were the only people who were here other than the celebrant, and it was perfect. It was exactly what I wanted it to be. My father walked me out of my front door and across our garden to where we had the ceremony, and that was really, it was, for me, I'm not a traditionalist in any way. I'm about to be 42 years old. I am incredibly independent and a staunch feminist, but my father walking me down the aisle, so to speak, wasn't about me. It was about him. So my father walking me down the aisle had very little to do with me and what I felt about that tradition, and it was about him and I'm his only child. So for him, it meant a lot to him to walk me down the aisle. So I wanted to give that to him. So I most certainly don't believe in the tradition of giving the daughter to the husband. That's nowhere in my head at all. I don't accept that as something that I believe in. I am nobody gives me to anyone. I am who I am. But for the simple fact of bringing my father joy, I thought it was important. So I think that was probably something that's going to mean a lot to us as certainly as I get older. So we did that. He walked me across the garden, and I had done a first look with my parents. So I got dressed, and then the photographer had brought my parents in, and they'd seen me in my dress for the first time, and we did that, which was a really nice thing to do as well. Like, I included my mother, my stepfather, and my father in that because they are all my parents. So yeah, we had done the first look, and then Dad had walked me down the aisle, across the garden, to where my husband was. My daughter stood with us because she was not a happy camper that day. I think I have one photo of the four of us from the entire day because she was just not having a bar of it. She was not happy. She was not well. And my son chose to stand with his grandparents, which I was fine with. I was very much all about the kids should just do what they want to do. I didn't want to force their hand to be in anything or do anything, because I find if by doing that you're just going to make it a horrible experience for everybody while we try and wrangle children into situations they don't want to be in. So the ceremony was very, very short for us. We had directed our celebrant, who we know and is lovely. Her name is Liz Taylor. She does wedding ceremonies here in Sydney. If you want her, not hard to remember, Liz Taylor. And she had come out to do our ceremony for us, and we knew her, and our direction to her was, you say as many words as you have to legally marry us. We don't want a long ceremony. We've been together 12 years. We don't need anything that isn't absolutely necessary. We're not doing readings, none of that. Let's just get it done. And it was a lovely ceremony. We wrote our own vows, and it was over in like 10 minutes, which was great because it was really hot. So then we had a couple of family photos, which was also really, really quick because we didn't have a lot of people present, obviously. And we went into champagne and signing of legal documents that needed to be signed. I don't have a wedding certificate because I'm not changing my last name. Staunch feminist. I've been who I am for 42 years almost. I felt no need to suddenly become someone new, so I will keep my last name. So there was no marriage certificate or any of that. It was just the legal paperwork, and we were done. And then we had our wedding cake here at home. So in our family, all celebrations, birthdays and such happen around our kitchen breakfast bar. That's where we do all the cakes. So we made the choice that that was where we were going to do our wedding cake, much to the horror of several people. My wedding photographer was like, fridge is in the background and it's got kids' art and stuff all over it. Are you all right with that? And I was like, yeah, I'm good with that. This is where we do cake. Like this is our family tradition. This is where we always do it. And even my wedding organizer Alicia had said, well, maybe we could do it outside. I can bring in chairs and have a lovely service and beautiful glasses. And I was like, no. We're doing it inside. And as it turned out, it was so hot anyway, I was thrilled to have it inside because the aircon is inside. And, you know, we've got men standing around in suits and I'm in a dress and a cape, and yeah, it was nice to come inside. So we cut the cake in my kitchen at the breakfast bar. It was only a tiny cake because there were only going to be a few people present, which suited me. I had the cake on my great grandmother's cake platter, and we used our good china, which I have talked about in previous videos. It's one of those things like, no, you can't use it, but we're just going to keep it forever. I actually used my plates, and we used the champagne flutes that my grandmother had given me years ago. So my grandmother is no longer with us, but I had a lot of throwbacks to her throughout that part of the day. So yes, I was thrilled to be able to use things that I had either had passed down to me or given to me as part of my wedding day also. And then we just sat around at my dining room table and ate cake. I also used a beautiful Vera Wang serving set, so the cake triangle thing that you use to get the cake out, and the knife. My beautiful sales associate from Fendi, who has now moved to London, who I'm so hoping to see when I get there in September, had given me before she left this Vera Wang cake serving set, and I used that on the day, and she had that engraved with the date of our wedding. So thank you, Lily. It was a lovely, lovely gesture, and we used it on the day, which was also really important to me. So after we did cake, we split up as a family. So we went in separate directions. So at that point, my babysitter had arrived and my children were staying here at the house. I said good luck to her because my daughter was not a happy camper, but at that point they got to get in shorts and out of their suits and dresses and stuff. So we left her here with the kids, and everybody headed for the city, so into Sydney. I had known that we were going to go in and get there and do photos straight away, so I was still wearing my wedding dress, and we went straight to the Crown hotel in Sydney where we were staying, and our parents went their own way. They were staying at different hotels, and we went and had photos around Barangaroo, which is an area in Sydney. So I will include what photos I can from that. Obviously my husband isn't in a lot of them, but anyway, you can't see his face, I'll include them for you. And we had some beautiful photos there. We wanted really urban feel to the photos. We wanted, my wedding photographer has a fantastic business based around architectural photography as well, so he has this keen eye for architecture which really suited our style, and we did a lot of street photography and just walking through, and he would point out things and go, that's going to be a great photo, go stand up there, I'm going to get those lines from that roof in this photo and it's going to look brilliant. And he was right, he has a brilliant eye for photography, and I loved that he just wasn't a standard wedding photographer, because I really feel like that brought a lot to our photos on the other side. It was an incredibly hot day. Everybody around Barangaroo was lovely. You look fantastic. Congratulations. It's a very strange thing to walk around in a wedding dress and have people congratulate you. But it was lovely that people did that for us, and acknowledged us and congratulated us. So we walked around for a while. We probably had about an hour and a half of photography around Barangaroo, and towards the end I was like, there's an ice cream shop over there, I want to go get an ice cream. And the photographer's like, yeah, let's go get an ice cream. So we have photos of us buying ice cream while I'm in a wedding dress, and the ice cream store we went into down there gave us free ice cream because we were clearly getting married. So we walked around with our ice creams and had photos eating, and that was all great. So after those photos were done, we went back to the room, and because I knew I was doing a completely different look from day to night, I had a shower. It's like the first shower after a long haul flight. It's just the best thing in the world to go, okay, I have now sweated all morning in this Sydney humidity and heat. My makeup is still great. My hair is still fantastic, but I feel like grotty, you know, like there's that grotty feeling of being hot and sweaty for hours and walking around. So I was like, yeah, I'm going to have a shower, because I knew that they had to start again anyway. And my hairdresser and my makeup artist had said, yeah, we're going to start again anyway, so have a shower. So Jen said I stood in a cold shower for about 20 minutes. It was lovely. Washed my hair, washed all my makeup off, stripped back to nothing. And that was seriously the best thing that I did all day. And also because I'd been up so early and I'd had such a rough few days in the lead up to the wedding, it was nice just to refresh before the evening. Like, I feel like if I had gone straight from one to the other, I would have been exhausted by the end of the night. And I was, but I had felt refreshed because I'd had this shower. And then we just kind of sat for 20 minutes, half hour before it started again, and, you know, had a chance to eat something and just have some water. I was very conscious about drinking throughout the day. It hasn't taken much for me to get drunk since I've had the gastric sleeve surgery, and I was very conscious that I did not want to be drunk. So I drank water pretty much throughout the day, or coffee, and that was really it. And then the second round started. So photographer arrives, the hairdresser arrives, the makeup artist arrives. I had the most amazing lady do alterations on my dress from Caramelist Homes, and then she went on to alter my second Oscar de la Renta dress for me, and she was so amazingly wonderful. And she does alterations here in Sydney, so if you need wedding dresses altered, please get in touch with me over on Instagram. I can give you her details. She is phenomenal. And she was like, I'm going to come put you in your evening dress, because I want to make sure the zip is right. My Oscar de la Renta dress was very thick material, and if you didn't do the zipper just right, it could easily get caught and break. So she's like, I'm coming. So she came with her daughter who got roped into it, and they sat while I got ready and just hung out until I was ready to put my dress on. It literally took her 3 minutes to put my dress on, if that, and then that was it. But she had come all that way for no other reason than she wanted to make sure that my dress was perfect on the night, and that meant an awful lot to me that she went out of her way to do that. So thank you, Susan, for doing that for me. I am so incredibly grateful. In the morning, I had gone for a very romantic, it wasn't really natural look, but it was a bit more me, I suppose. In the evening, I knew I wanted to channel Marilyn Monroe, and that's where I went with that, and that's where my makeup artist and my hairdresser went. I didn't want to play dress up. It wasn't about me wanting to look exactly like Marilyn Monroe. I was channeling her. She was an inspiration. That's what I wanted. So that's what we did, and I felt like my Oscar de la Renta dress really lent itself to that. So we went with that kind of look, and very pigmented makeup and very big hair. I wore my Louis Vuitton heels for the evening. I had Jennifer Behr jewelry. In the morning, I had worn diamond and morganite and diamond earrings in the morning that I had bought years ago for one of the previous weddings I planned that got cancelled. So I wore them in the morning, and then I switched out to Jennifer Behr earrings for the evening because I wanted something a bit more dramatic. And obviously I had all my rings with me, and then we went off and had photos over at the Opera House, because it's one of those things when you live in Sydney, and you have always lived in Sydney, you walk around and there's always a lot of tourists, and it seems to be the standard, I get married in Sydney, I go have photos with the Opera House and the bridge, and you don't want them to be cliched, but if you have these amazing icons, you really need to make use of them. So I said to my wedding photographer, I want to have these photos because I think it's important to include these amazing structures that we have here in Sydney, which are, known throughout the entire world, but I don't want to be the standard bride. I'll stand here on the steps and smile, and he was like, cool, I can work with that, because he's obviously an architectural photographer as well, so he did. So we walked around to the Opera House from Customs House, which was where our wedding reception was happening. We did a quick stop at a few different points along the way of things that he thought was important to catch, or that he thought would make great photos, and he was right. And then we went around and had photos at the actual Opera House themselves, which is a phenomenal structure and just has beautiful places to get photos, which aren't just your standard stand on the steps and here's the Opera House behind you. So we did all that, and then we walked back around to Customs House. I wore my heels on the way there, I wore thongs on the way back, and then switched out my heels again. I went prepared. And then we had our reception at Cafe Sydney, which is in Customs House in Sydney, and it's a beautiful, beautiful space with the most amazing view. You have the Harbour Bridge, you have the Opera House around to the side, and it was just a stunningly beautiful day, and it was perfect. We had drinks and canapes out on the balcony, and then we had the tables set up. Our tables were set up with our table numbers were albums from the 90s and early 2000s that we love, and we bought the actual albums themselves, and our table were named after each of those albums, and we have kept the actual albums themselves. They're a keepsake for us. All our guests got perfume from Hermes, and they were in little orange packets, which is where the orange came in. We needed to tie in some orange because I knew I was going to have orange things on the table, even though I hate orange. Hermes is orange. It had to be orange. So my husband and I had chosen, I think, 7 or 8 different fragrances from Hermes, which we would both wear. So we chose unisex ones, and then they gave us as many as they could of each of those. So we started with H24, which is our favorite, and said, all right, well, how many of those have you got? Well, we've got 25 of those. Okay, this is our second favorite one. Okay, well, we've got 15 of those, and we just kept going until we got to the number that we needed. So I think there were in total 7 or 8 different fragrances, and it was just potluck what people got, but because they were unisex, it didn't matter. And we hope that people enjoyed what they got. And then we had flower arrangements on the tables. Everybody was there. We arrived. And we went straight into speeches. So my father-in-law spoke, my father spoke, and my mother spoke, and we got all of that out of the way before anybody sat down. And then we sat down to dinner. And we did basically all the things that we wanted for a wedding that we sometimes find hard in other people's weddings. So for example, because we had taken the venue and we'd only invited 80 people, I think I ended up with about 63 on the day, after RSVPs and then a few last minute illnesses, and couple of people had deaths in the family. Anyway, so I ended up with about 63 on the day. But at Cafe Sydney, I could have up to 100 people and they could choose what they wanted to eat. And that was really important to me. So we had four choices for entree, mains, and people could choose what they wanted. So that was really important to me because I hate negotiating food, going to weddings and going, the alternate serve and then going, well, what are you having? Do you want that? Can I switch with you? That, just choose what you want to eat. So that was really important to me. So we did entrees and then we had seafood platters for tables. So there were lots and lots of seafood platters out with Moreton Bay bugs and crab and prawns, I think. And people could just help themselves to that. That had canapes previous. And then we went into mains where once again, there were 3 choices. They could choose what they want. And then we had canapé desserts. So it was really important to me that once they finished the mains that they could get up and move again, because I didn't want people stuck in their seats for ages. I wanted people to get up and mingle and be able to talk and dance and have a good time. So we went straight from there back to canapes for dessert so that got people up and moving and they weren't stuck in their chair for dessert. After the mains, my husband and I gave speeches. So my husband and then because I always had the last word, so I spoke last. So we had speeches and then we went straight into dancing. So we had a well-known DJ from the 90s, 2000 era. He played house music for us and it was just a really great vibe with the sun going down on the harbour. It was lovely. We had a real 90s theme throughout the whole wedding. I had chosen cocktails. I chose Midori Illusions because I don't know if this translates to other countries, but certainly in Australia, if you were of drinking age in the late 90s or early 2000s, you drank Midori Illusions because they were what everybody drank. I had Cosmopolitans, which we called Meredith in the City, and we had Aperol Spritzers, which I will be honest, I chose because I knew Dale from Dale's Addiction was coming to my wedding and she loves an Aperol Spritz and I did want something that wasn't as sweet as the other ones. So I chose it knowing that she would drink it and that would suit people who didn't want a really sweet cocktail. We had a completely open bar. People would drink whatever they want, spirits, beer, cider, wine. There were wines, there was champagne, whatever they wanted to drink. It was completely covered under our bar tab. I didn't want anyone paying for anything. And it was just a lovely day. I had the best day. I just soaked it up. And I will say what I'm sure every bride ever says, it went so quickly. The reception was not long enough. I didn't get a chance to speak to everyone for as long as I wanted to. I didn't get a chance to dance as much as I wanted to, but I just had the best time surrounded by all these people who love us and who we love. And when a lot of them went out of their way to be there, they caught planes. Connor and Dale came down from Brisbane. I had family who flew in from other states. I had friends who flew in from other states. And I was so grateful that so many people made such an effort to be there, and it was just lovely to be surrounded by the most amazing humans that we are so lucky to know and love. And they were just there to celebrate us, and that was just, there is nothing in the world like it. It was the best party we could have ever hoped for, which is what we wanted it to be. It was never about a standard traditional wedding. We just wanted a really fun party. And yeah, it was just a great day. So I'm sure you guys are all bored hearing about my wedding, hearing me speak for this long, but I will now tell you what handbags I carried. So here's a photo of the first handbag I carried with my first dress. And as you can see, it's this one. So my Chanel Wok in the iridescent white was the bag that I carried with my first dress around Barangaroo when we were having photos. This is what I carried because I knew it was big enough to take what I wanted it to take, but also small enough that it wasn't cumbersome to me. So that was the first bag I carried. I also have a picture of me holding this one at home before I left. I didn't take it, I didn't use it, but I wanted you guys to have a photo of me in my dress with this bag. So here's that photo. And then for the night, I took 2 bags in. I actually took this one with me, my Louis Vuitton record, because I had this real theme happening with records and the 90s feel. So I took it thinking I might use it. As it turns out, it didn't come with me, but I do have a photo from it that my wedding photographer took. So I'll throw that up for you guys. But yes, it was in contention, but it didn't go. And then of course I chose my Fendi First in the crystal, and it was perfect. I loved it. And a couple of my friends who were there on the night was like, what bag did you choose? They're like, oh, you chose that one. So there were a few people in the room who watched me here on YouTube who were just really happy to see this one get a run, and I have pictures of them holding it. I won't put their pictures up because they don't know that they're going to be on YouTube, and I won't do that to them. But I especially note that my friends Nick and Kate, who also came down from Brisbane, were very excited to see my Fendi First in crystals in person, because I know they watch my videos. And in fact, Nick had messaged me going, my mother wants to know what bag you're taking. So I appreciate that the whole family are involved in my YouTube videos. It has got some wear from being touted around on the day. I don't know if you'll be able to see, there's a couple of marks on it now, but I don't mind, because those marks are my wedding marks, and that tells a story now. This was my wedding bag. So this one came with me to Cafe Sydney. We also had bags made for the evening for everybody to take home their shoes, and I provided thongs for all our guests. So I had gone to Kmart. For anyone who's getting married in Australia, I went to Kmart and I bought in a variety of sizes $1.50 thongs. They were just standard black thongs. I went and bought a whole heap of them. I think I bought about 80 pair of them. So I had too many in various sizes at $1.50 each, and we took them with us. And then I had calico bags from Spotlight, and I bought them in white, and they cost me $2 each. And I had them screen printed with the picture we had used throughout all our invitations and table decorations. We had taken the Ministry of Sound logo and changed it with our names on it, and I had that printed onto those $2 bags. That was really expensive to have that printed. I think it cost me about $500 and something to have them printed. But even if you didn't have them printed, for $2 for the bag and $1.50 for the thongs, I have never seen a group of excited people like that in my life. Oh my goodness, there's thongs! Oh, we've got a bag to take it all home in. Like, seriously, if you're getting married for the sake of $3.50, and realistically, you don't need a bag for every person, you need a bag for every couple. And in a lot of cases, I've got to say the men didn't switch out to thongs, just the women did. Based on what shoes they're wearing. I did have some men in some fabulous shoes who did switch out to thongs. They had amazing heels on and they switched out to thongs. But for the most part, you don't need to accommodate those things for everybody. And seriously, I have never seen so many excited people in my life to have $1.50 thongs and a $2 bag to take everything that they got home with them. So hot tip in case you're getting married, go buy cheap thongs and cheap bags and people will think you are so smart. So that's my hot tip for a wedding. I hope you guys have enjoyed this. I hope you've made it this far. I have no idea how long I've been talking for. I will edit this down and think, oh my goodness, no one's going to want to watch this, Meredith. I hope you've enjoyed seeing some of the photos from my wedding. If nothing else, if nobody watches this video, it's nice for me to have as a reminder of my wedding day and to be able to talk about it. So I'm sorry if you're bored. If you have liked today's video, please give it a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button down below. It means a lot to a content creator when you hit that subscribe button. Also hit the little bell notification so you know when I've uploaded videos. I have unboxings coming. I've got a few tag videos I need to do, so make sure you hit that little bell notification. Please also come follow me over on Instagram. My wedding photos that I had went up over on Instagram long before I did this video, so make sure you are following me over on Instagram because things go up faster over there. I hope wherever you are in the world today, you are having a fabulous day, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye, guys.